Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're tackling a massive earthquake in 19th century religious thought, a total shift from traditional orthodoxy to modern Protestant liberalism. It's a fascinating journey of how human philosophy fundamentally reshaped theology, taking ideas that had stood strong for centuries and turning them completely upside down.
We've got a lot of ground to cover. We'll start with the big clash, Christology above versus below. Then we'll look at the Enlightenment's challenge, Kant's limits on reason, Schleiermacher's idea of absolute dependence, and finally, Ritschl's functional Jesus. Let's get right into it.
Part 1. Christology, above versus below.
Okay, so here is the ultimate paradigm shift. For centuries, traditional theology viewed the incarnation from above. Picture it like this. The eternal Son comes down, stepping into human history. It's a view that emphasizes a sharp discontinuity, God invading creation from the outside. But hit the 19th century, and modern theology flips the script entirely. They start from below. They look at the man, Jesus, and emphasize his continuity with the rest of us. In this view, he isn't a divine invader. He's the absolute finest flower of humanity reaching upward to God.
Part 2. The Enlightenment's challenge. To really grasp why this massive flip happened, we have to look at the cultural vibes of the time. Basically, authority completely relocated, driven by three massive impulses in 19th century consciousness. First up, a heavy anti-authoritarian bias. People were just deeply suspicious of external institutions, like the church and the Bible. Second, human autonomy took center stage. Following thinkers like Descartes, people wanted to rely purely on the unaided human interpreter. And third, because they ditched external authority, they had to look inward. The focus shifted entirely to inner human consciousness. Meaning wasn't something you found out there anymore. It had to be discovered inside your own mind.
Part 3. Kant and the limits of reason.
Enter Immanuel Kant. Kant basically built a massive epistemological brick wall. He argued that our reason acts like a giant screening device. Think about it. First, you have a continuous stream of sensory perception coming at you. Second, your reason steps in to organize all that messy data. But here's the catch, step 3. Because of this screening process, Kant says we only ever perceive the phenomenal realm, that is, things exactly as they appear to our human senses. We can literally never access the noumenal realm, which is things as they actually are in themselves. And guess who lives in that noumenal realm? God. By setting it up this way, Kant made traditional God talk seem totally impossible, because we can't empirically access him.
So Kant basically demolished our ability to know God through pure reason. But he didn't want to leave us drowning in total skepticism, especially when it came to Christian ethics. So to save morality, he made a pretty awkward move. He postulated that God must exist simply to explain our inexplicable human moral consciousness. Basically, God becomes a necessary assumption, a placeholder really, just to keep human morality intact.
Part 4. Schleiermacher and absolute dependence.
Now here comes Friedrich Schleiermacher, often called the father of modern theology. He realized he couldn't beat Kant at his own logic game, so he just bypassed reason altogether and went straight for the heart. He swapped out Kant's moral consciousness for a religious one. Schleiermacher argued that every single human being has this innate feeling of absolute dependence, and to him, this universal inner consciousness is the true bedrock of religion. Forget rigid doctrines. Forget complex moral reasoning. For Schleiermacher, theology is all about exploring this shared deep inner feeling.
Because of this, his view of Jesus is radically different. He described Jesus by pointing to, and I quote, the constant potency of his God consciousness, which was a veritable existence of God in him. See what's happening there? This is textbook Christology from below. Jesus isn't the ontological God-man descending from the heavens. Nope, he's a mere man who is totally unique simply because his inner feeling of absolute dependence, his God consciousness, was absolutely perfect and unparalleled.
Starting from below like this meant Schleiermacher had to throw out some major historical doctrines. He specifically rejected the communicatio idiomatum. That's the traditional early church doctrine saying the properties of the divine and human natures are intimately shared in the one person of Christ. Well, Schleiermacher thought mixing a divine nature and a human nature was a terrible idea, like mixing oil and water. He thought it would just contaminate both sides, making the human less human and the divine less divine. So he scrapped the two-nature doctrine entirely, prioritizing his version of theological clarity over historical orthodoxy.
Part 5. Ritschl and a functional Jesus. As the 19th century rolls on, Albrecht Ritschl takes things in yet another direction. He moves away from inner feelings and focuses on outward actions, creating a functional Christology.
Ritschl argued we shouldn't get bogged down in abstract ancient Greek concepts about divine essence or natures. Instead, we should just look at the work of Christ. He completely rejects the preexistence of Christ and the virgin birth. For Ritschl, Jesus was simply the man who founded the kingdom of God. He redeems humanity purely through his teachings, his perfect example, and his moral influence. And because his functional work was so incredible, Jesus essentially earns the title of Godhead. If you've ever heard someone describe Jesus primarily as just a great moral teacher, well, this is where that functional framework really got its modern footing.
All right, taking a step back, the whole 19th century trajectory comes into sharp focus. It is a massive pivot. We move completely away from the eternal, divine Son coming down. First, Kant turns God into a mere postulate to support human moral consciousness. Then Schleiermacher bypasses that and turns Jesus into a man with a perfect inner religious feeling. Finally, Ritschl turns Jesus into the ultimate functional worker who earns a divine title through ethical actions. Do you see the pattern? They all start from below. They completely replace a divine invasion with human morality, inner feelings, and ethical actions trying to reach up to God.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a bit of a cliffhanger. This entire theological shift was built on a very optimistic, highly romanticized view of human nature and human autonomy. But then, the 20th century happened. Brutal realities like World War I and the modern scientific dissolution of the self completely shattered that optimistic view. Meaning suddenly became incredibly hard to find. This total crisis set the stage for a massive pendulum swing right back toward the transcendence and otherness of God, a fascinating reaction spearheaded by neo-Orthodox thinkers like Karl Barth. We've just seen how theology went entirely from below, but what happens when the ground below completely collapses? Well, that is a question for another day. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive.